3 shifters, 1 bike, all using the same derailleur. We're going to find out which one is best, all things being equal. We're going to settle this debate once and for all. And what I found out really surprised me. Hey, David here with DIY Mountain Bike. I've worked on a lot of bikes over the years, from beat up garage finds to full-blown rebuilds. And I've used just about every kind of shifter out there, but I've never really actually compared them head-to-head until now. So I came up with this silly idea of mounting 3 different shifters on the same bike. I used the same 7-speed freewheel and a Shimano Tourney derailleur. I tested each one of the shifters one at a time. I just swapped out the cables in between each one of them. Was it awkward? Absolutely. Did it work? Yeah, surprisingly well. Let's talk through what I learned about each one. First up are twist shifters. These are what you'll find on big box store bikes. They're simple, cheap, and they keep the handlebars looking clean. You simply twist a shift. Most of them are made of plastic, and over time they wear out. The internal indexing ring gets loose, or they're vague, and they're prone to accidental shifts since your hand is always on the grip. The grip diameter is also bigger than normal, which can be uncomfortable, especially for kids with smaller hands. All that said, they're easy to use, perfect for bikes that might take some abuse, like a kid's bike or an occasional cruiser. For around $5 to $10, you can replace the whole thing without feeling bad. Next up, friction shifters. These are old school, but are incredibly useful. There's no indexing. You control exactly where the derailleur lands. That gives you total flexibility with your drivetrain. You don't need to match the derailleur or the shifter, and heck, you can even switch up brands. It just works. They're almost bulletproof in terms of durability. There are no small internal springs or ratchets to break, and you can fine-tune as you ride the bike. The downside is that you're always fine-tuning. You're not going to find a defined click. It's all feel, and depending on your setup, it can mean a lot of micro adjustments. Visually, they break up that clean cockpit look since most of them mount on the top of the bar. And honestly, finding a good-looking brand new friction shifter can be a challenge these days. But if you're into bike packing, touring, or rebuilding Franken bikes with mixed parts, friction shifters are a solid option. And finally, trigger shifters. These are probably the most common on modern mountain bikes. You shift up and down using 2 levers, and you get a nice audible click, and you feel it with every gear change. It's precise, reliable, and feels great when you're riding hard. Because they mount under the bar, they're well protected. They're also ergonomic, especially if you're shifting mid-climb or braking with one finger. The catch, compatibility matters. You usually need to match the shifter to the derailleur, so make sure they're built for the same number of speeds and the same brand. Shimano and SRAM use different pull ratios, so mixing up the brands isn't a good idea. Also, they're not immune to gunk. The internal click and pull system can get sticky over time, especially if you ride in wet or muddy conditions. For trail riders and performance-focused builds, trigger shifters are the clear winner. You'll find them everywhere from $300 hardtails to high-end wireless setups. So after testing all 3 of these shifters on the same bike with the same drivetrain, which one do I think is best? Here's what I think. Twist shifters, they're fine. They're cheap. I will say they don't hold up real well, and they're a pretty big diameter, not quite as comfortable. Perfect for a kid's bike or the casual rider, someone that's not super serious, just wants something that works, get you outside pedaling the bike, or if you think you're going to be replacing something, this is a good option. If it gets broken, it doesn't cost too much to put another one on. Friction shifters. These things are awesome, but in a little bit of a different way. Super durable. They can be put on any drivetrain and they'll just work. What they lack in precision, they make up for in durability and flexibility. These do require just a little bit of fine-tuning as you're riding. You've got to dial these things in for them to work really well. With all that said about the friction shifters, if you're into like bike packing or you like experimenting, a friction shifter is perfect. It's durable, it's going to hold up. Visualize yourself out riding for miles and miles, backpacking with very little help in terms of getting parts. These things are just going to plain work. They're simple. Trigger shifters. These are probably the best balance for me. Trigger shifters have a precise feel. They've got a really clean click that makes it very intuitive, and ergonomically they fit well on a bike. Trigger shifters are going to be perfect. If you're serious into mountain biking, they're going to allow you to move quickly through those gears and still hold on to that handlebar real well. In the end, it's all about which shifter you need for your situation in your bike. If you want something that shifts fast, look at that trigger shifter. Something that is just plain durable, friction shifters are good. Something that's cheap and just will work, check out those twist shifters. Hey, as always, keep your bike tuned and keep pedaling. Thanks.